Right, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another reaction. Today we got a bit of a weird one. We got the time the Dutch ate their prime minister. Very interested to see what the hell is going on here. What the hell happened with the Dutch and eating the prime minister? Let's get it, man.
Historically speaking, prime ministers aren't food. But this little fact wasn't enough to stop those go-getting Dutch from chowing down on their own in 1672.
What the fuck?
This raises a pretty obvious question. Why? Why did the Dutch eat their prime minister? How does someone go from being in a position of immense power to becoming food for an angry mob?
Bro, how does anyone become food for an angry mob?
So, a bit of background. In the mid-17th century, the young Dutch Republic was in a difficult situation. It was surrounded by hostile powers who were pretty keen to carve it up or at least permanently subjugate it.
What about
You see,
watching?
the Dutch Republic was rich. Incredible.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Mostly due to its near monopoly on trade with Southeast Asia, which everybody else wanted. Having so many enemies meant the war was somewhat inevitable. So the title of Prime Minister didn't exist back in 1653, and the formal head of the Dutch Republic was called the Stadtholder. Previously, this office had been held by the Princes of Orange and was essentially an elected monarchy. However, as of 1650, the office was left vacant after a quarrel between William II and officials from Holland. In the decades following this, the country was deeply divided between two political groups. The first group was...
Right, do you know what's very weird? This is sounding very normal, just like a little bit of like a civil war or whatever that on earth is going on, right? But how on earth does this end up to eating the fucking prime minister, bro?
Statists, those who favoured a loose federation and less centralised power, and the second group were the Orangists, who wished for the return of a monarchical system under the House of Orange and a deeply centralised state. Without a stadtholder, the effective head of the country was the Grand Pensionary of Holland, the richest and most powerful of the United Provinces. And the man who held this position was Johan de Witt. De Witt was in many respects a moderate whose primary interest was protecting the flow of trade, and thus he wanted to avoid war at all costs. As such, de Witt prioritised the creation of a strong navy to deter anyone from interrupting said trade. Now, this policy worked well initially. When England fought a war in 1665,
who gets eaten then?
Dutch trade away from it, the Dutch promptly and decisively crushed the English navy. After this, de Witt was at the height of his popularity and power, and so sought to use this to settle his dispute with the Orangists, who were led by the young William of Orange. As such, he implemented a law which meant that Holland no longer recognised the office of stadtholder, making it impossible for William to have control of the entire country should he rise to power. To put it mildly, this upset the Orangists, but there wasn't much they could do yet. Things went south in 1670.
Bro, there's nothing much that they can do apart from eat the motherfucker.
When King Louis XIV of France decided that the Dutch Republic's existence had gone on for a bit too long, and so he invaded. And things went poorly for the Dutch. Very poorly. So much so that 1672 is referred to as the Rampjaar, which directly translates to a year which in retrospect can safely be described as being pants. With the French army rampaging through the country, the Orangists demanded de Witt's head and made a failed attempt to assassinate him. He resigned the office of Grand Pensionary, but this wasn't enough since he could potentially return, and so the Orangists arrested de Witt's brother. When de Witt went to visit him, he was ambushed and killed by a mob, and said mob subsequently ate him and his brother. Not all of them, that would be uncouth, but they did cook and eat some of them. We know this from several sources who described it as actually being a uncouth, but they killed by a mob, and said mob subsequently ate him and his brother. Not all of them, that would be uncouth, but they did cook and eat some of them. We know this from several sources who described it as actually being a fairly organised display of cannibalism, which is pretty rare. In the end, he was killed because the people of his country were in a state of raw panic. And the Dutch mob ate him because they hated him. He had kept their rightful monarch away from power, so they sought to humiliate him in death. And in case you're wondering, the reaction to their deaths in the Netherlands was that it was justified, and the new stadtholder, William, quickly pardoned everyone. So if you only take one...
Bro, I would not want to become the prime minister. You got a chance of being eaten, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Away from this, when leaders mess things up royally by losing a war and alienating half of their own country, they move on to the list of things eligible to be eaten. Something to remember in half of their own country, they move on to the list of things eligible to be eaten. Something to remember if you ever want to go into politics. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Hey, son, you're really smart, man. Like, you should go into politics and become prime minister. No. Bro, what the hell is going on, man? Jesus Christ. But really interesting video. Really good from History Matters. I did enjoy that one. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it too. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe for more content. And I'll see you all in the next video.